On est déjà en... Ouais, là, on est en... Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're back with our AUI Tech Talk, alumni Tech Talk. And today I'm very happy because this topic specifically is very, very close to my heart. So that knows me or that know me know that I've been already a tech entrepreneur, and I spent like 15 plus years in tech entrepreneurship with its challenges, opportunities, etc. And really, I'm really happy today to have with me two tech entrepreneur that graduated from Al Akhawain University, and also an innovation consultant, and with which I would like to have a discussion about tech entrepreneurship in Morocco, the challenges that tech entrepreneurs have, the opportunities that we might have also to encourage young generation to go through this experience. Thank you, dear speakers, to be with me. Thank you, Usama Sfarawi. Thank you, Mihdir Missassi. Thank you, Kenza, for being with us. I will not introduce you one by one. I will give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. And of course, we'll start by ladies first. Kenza, can you just tell us about what you do and your experience with entrepreneurship or tech entrepreneurship?
Of course. So a short intro would be that I graduated from AUI with a bachelor's in business administration, management, and human resource development as a minor. And after that, I've done my master's degree in entrepreneurship and innovation management in China, in Nottingham University. I have a few years of experience in China doing trade, export, import mainly between Morocco and China of industrial machinery, and in higher education where I was teaching business classes in China. I moved back to Morocco to start working for a tech startup incubator, La Startup Factory, where I was innovation manager. I was organizing hackathons and bootcamp events for large corporates in Morocco and sort of trying to build bridges between the startups and the corporates. After that, I've moved to more strategic consulting. So I'm now a capabilities and insights analyst within McKinsey & Company in Morocco. And I specialize in digital transformation topics, innovation within Africa. Yes, so basically that's my link to the innovation world within Morocco and the continent as a whole. And very glad to be here.
Nice parkour, Kenza. Thank you very much for this introduction. Let's go to Mehdi. Can you tell us, because I know some little background about your academic parkour. I would like to hear it from you.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Also your experience.
Well, first of all, thank you for Yehuda, mainly for organizing this alumni talks, and it's always a pleasure to see some old faces and friends. It's also an opportunity for us to meet to discuss on a continuous basis. Well, my name is Mehdi Rissassi. I graduated from School of Business Administration with bachelor degree in 1999. I had my MBA on 2000 in finance. After a short experience as a junior account manager at a telco company in Casablanca, my all-time friend and I decided to launch B3G, which is a company that offers today digital banking and mobile money solutions to the Moroccan markets and to international markets. We have been in the market now for over 17 years, which is a quite nice and beautiful entrepreneur journey. And that was one of the most exciting things I've done in my life, and I will be happy to share this experience today with you. Thank you.
Nice field. I mean, mobile banking is something that is really a trend now, and it has been, started in some countries in Africa. And I'm glad that we have people that are implementing this kind of technologies in Morocco. Let's move to Usama. Usama, would you like to present yourself, please?
Yes, sure. I'm very glad first to be invited in this show or in this presentation, and I will be very happy also to share my experience. And I'm glad to see old faces, old friends. My professional, or just after graduating in 2002, I started a professional career as an employee. I worked in the bank. I worked in the telecom field. I worked in the services field as well. And then after that, I decided to start to make my own company and to start my own company. And in IT field, in IT technology and infrastructure field. So we are now present. AGO Solutions company is present since um, uh, almost 8 years ago. 8 years now. So we're 8 years, which is maybe half the time of Mehdi. Since I have done almost 12 years of my professional careers as an employee, which helped me also to gain in terms of experience, to be able to launch confidently a company, and to be able to have also a base for clients or customers. So yes, so now I am a tech entrepreneur. I work in the IT field, in the infrastructure mainly, and services.
I will let you. Talk, Usama. Can you tell us how did you had this idea of launching the company? And does the family around you, your friends, encourage you to do that? How social aspects or how social society influence entrepreneur to take the decision to be an entrepreneur or a tech entrepreneur, because we know that tech entrepreneurship is kind of very tough field. It's not everybody that goes into this kind of experience.
Well, when you start the idea of launching your company, I think the best thing that you can do is do it secretly, because there is no one that will encourage you to leave a job, a salary, a good pay, and to go and launch a company and start from zero or maybe -0. So everyone will think about a return, about end of month, about bills. So everyone will start saying, no, how come you left your company? Maybe my case is different than that of Mehdi, because he started from the beginning as an entrepreneur. But for myself, it was a really tough decision to do the jump. It's very complicated socially. It needs a lot of courage. It needs a lot of persuading the people around you, and that you need to also to have very close people that will have confidence in you, and those ones who will be pushing you to start that journey. It is really really tough in the beginning, but once you jump in, and because uh, as an anecdote from my family stopped talking to me right away, like 1 month I had to think my mind. I had to think about all the advantages I had, because I had a company car, I had a good salary, 14e mois, and then I left everything and I jumped to a new venture with no perspectives, because no perspectives for others, because for you have your path, you have your objective, they are set, and you will be from point one to from point zero maybe to point one, and you know how to get it because you're confident. So you will need people with you that will push this confidence, and assure you also that they are supporting you, and this is very important.
Well, let me ask Kenza. You have been dealing with young entrepreneurs or tech entrepreneurs through La Factory. What did you, touching them as personalities? Were their parents encouraging them? Their surrounding, their friends, how they landed there? In La Factory.
Right. No, yeah. So through the exposure to a few hundred entrepreneurs, mainly startups, and from throughout the stages, but again, mainly the early stages of startups, I think I have two insights. One is regarding entrepreneurship as a whole, and one specifically as tech entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship as a whole, then there is a willingness. People are more and more willing to go into entrepreneurship. At least they say they do. So if you look at surveys or the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is really interesting, and I invite you to check it out. It's a global survey that checks the willingness of people and of youth to go into entrepreneurship, and how much of the youth that say they want to be entrepreneurs, how many of them actually go into the reality and do it. So I think in terms of willingness, we do have the willingness. In terms of parent support, I think it is moving, and more parents are more supportive of that, and they see that the classic format of a government job, which was the previous generation's dream, right? The government job and the corporate job. Now I think that the dream is fading away a bit, so more and more parents are accepting of that. However, I would point to the difference between tech entrepreneurship and classical entrepreneurship, because I think parents still struggle with that. So if you tell a father, hey, I want to start my restaurant, they're more likely to accept than if you say, hey, I want to start a website. To parents, I think in Morocco now, they're still not seeing that the digital world is real. It's still out there in the cloud, small, right? And it's still hard to convince parents of tech entrepreneurship, even harder than classical entrepreneurship. So going back to my experience with the startups, I've seen some and that were really very, very supportive, as in the parents took the loan to give to their children to start their business. Those kind of examples exist. It's not completely, I don't want to claim that like parents are completely not supportive. I think in some very rare cases, they are trying to help and they're willing to help as long as they see that it's real, right? But I think overall, yes, definitely parents will not be the number one support system for an entrepreneur. It's still, you have to argue your case, you have to show that you're sure of what you're doing. And I think even when parents believe that it's a good career path to start your business, even if they have examples of ولد خالتك and your cousin and like your neighbor, look, they're successful. They like it when other people do it, but it's still hard to tell them that it's time to do it now and not in the future. It's always something that when you grow up later, when you have more experience, then you can do it and we'll be supportive. So no, I think it clearly is a thing that entrepreneurs are still fighting today. That's all from my side. I'll think about parents.
Kenza. What about you, Mehdi? Can you tell us about, because you started very young. I mean, I don't know, how old were you when you started?
Well, actually, I started, I was 24, 25. And I've been an employee for 6 months, I think. That's all. All my experience as an employee, which was kind of short.
Your experience is kind of close to mine.
Yeah, I know. And I remember we have a similar launching parcours of our lives.
Challenges, a lot of challenges at the beginning. Yes.
Let me state it this way. I mean, back to the period where we have launched our companies, Huda, and I think it was the same period. And I don't think we have had any support initially from anyone. For me, I got the exception, sorry, regarding my close family. I mean, I got the full support from them. I mean, I had the first job, it was nice pay, car, fuel, phone, whatever. I mean, it was fine, really. It was good, but still, I mean, you don't feel in your place. And with this, everybody was thinking that it was just a waste of time and energy, and you have a good academic diploma, and you can go and prove yourself in a company and multinational outside Morocco or wherever. And that was really hard to explain to people, that you give up that fair salary and you go for ventures, especially that you had the really short experience as employees. So we have got the decision to learn everything ourselves in our own environment. And of course, I mean, if we get back to family, I mean, all depends on expectations from families regarding their children. and that makes difference. And I was lucky enough to have been raised in a self-employed family. I mean, most of people around me today are either fonction libérale or own or entrepreneur. So that probably made it easy for me. And well, and I think these are kind of barriers that young entrepreneurs can find today, especially in the IT industry, as Kenza said, because for most of the people, I mean, all generations is just a fiction. I mean, what are you talking about? They need to see a store, a restaurant, a factory. I mean, something that
Assets.
is tangible. Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
asset.
assets.
So when you go back 15, 16 years ago, and you said you're talking about multi-channel solutions, you're talking about web, SMS, fax, WAP, it's just
Yeah, yeah,
something that was
yeah. I
hard to
mean,
make understand for people.
I relate. I relate a lot to your experience. I had personally a lot of support from my parents. My parents were encouraging, and they helped me financially to be able to support the company for I mean for at many occasions, not only at the beginning. And yes, and support. I had supportive friends. I had a supportive husband. I mean, all the way. I mean, if your friends and family are not supportive, you cannot go further, especially in the tech field. Let me go back to Osama, and I will ask you because you had a work experience before going. I mean, you left the salary, the I mean, I don't know, the car, the phone, everything to go through and jump into this entrepreneurship experience. Can you tell us how this helped you into in your company or in building your company? How this
Yes,
experience
well,
helped you?
yes, yes, because yes, that was one of the motivations. Is that I had, I thought that I had, and I felt that I had enough background and enough experience to go by myself, since I also held positions of responsibility in the end of my salary careers, so career, and then that's made me confident, because I was working at that last experience in the services field. So I was working for a company that does services for other companies, and for me, since I was holding those kind of services for that company, and I thought, why not holding that for myself and selling that for myself, and selling myself experience and myself knowledge for the 12 last years, to put that in place and start working by my own. Okay, so that was the starting point, and I had in mind the challenges, without saying that I just launched like this. I had in mind the challenges. I had in mind the suffering, the loneliness. When you're entrepreneur, you're lonely because you don't have colleagues, you don't have superior, you don't have your team, etc. You start to build your team, and you need to find people who are sharing the same philosophy, let's say, of your idea, of your services, and how you want to drive your company or your business. So yes, it helped me a lot, also in terms of networking. So people, and networking, you can start. I started with my own small network to start the first project, the first POs, even if they are very small. But this is the first start, that it motivates you, and gives you confidence to say that people have uh, confidence in you and in your company, so you can also start and develop that with other clients. So your first reference gives you that push to continue and give more of yourself, and of your experience. And زعما materially speaking, or financially speaking, you just need to have the patience in terms of payments, and be able to sell the quick wins at the beginning. You don't I was working on a project that are 25, 26, 30 million dirhams, but that is I had to lower down very low the the, the expectations, because we don't work on a project of 25 million dirhams when you start a company, but you work on a project of 2,000, 20,000, later 200,000, and then it goes little by little, and many projects gives you that mass that it can helps you financially to build up on your finances. So yes, this
Yes,
is
Mehdi.
if it answers the question.
Mehdi, you did not had, on the contrary, work experience, and also your background was business administration, and you jumped on IT. I know that your shareholder or associate he has this background in IT, but I mean,
You
any
got the answer.
I got the answer, but still, I'm really curious about how did you had the idea? How was that tough at the beginning? And I know that you just mentioned it. You did a master. You felt the need to have this IT background. So tell us more about that. How was that tough? How did you dealt with it?
Well, actually, I've started my studies as AUI as a SSE student
Okay, this I did not
before
know.
switching to the SBA. And I think I had my idea regarding this at the time. So
Okay.
starting,
Did you do a minor in CS, for example?
no, but I got few classes as electives at the time. So I was really close to the SSE students than probably the SBA students at the time. So that was it.
So
As I
you
said,
had the mind.
I had my idea regarding this at the time, so no worries. So starting a company in the IT was kind of natural for us, as you know. The company was launched by me and Faisal, who is a really brilliant tech guy. So we were but looking from that time for the complementarity between the tech side and the business side. And I mean, well, we were still students probably or young diplômés, but we had that need to be able to manage, even if it was likely the different aspects of a company. And for us, it was important for the long run. So IT industry is also and was at the time one of the most booming industries for in the market, and it still lasts for the last 2 decades. And we have started with what we used to be the parent of the digital industry today. It's the different communication channels that were affordable at the time. We were following what's going on the market, doing a lot of technology watching on the market, and we have been able to build through time really good and nice products that can make us proud of our journey.
I mean, we need to mention also that since you graduated from Al Akhawin, I mean, Akhawin had at that time, and I mean, till now, a very generous IT infrastructure. I mean, compared to other universities, or
Sure.
I mean, the students at that time were really ahead. Now, the technology is much more available, accessible to everyone, almost, because I'm still advocating about accessibility I mean, access to technology. However, at that time, maybe you had more access to technology than any other
Yes,
student.
of course, we were lucky enough. I mean, to have been raised and have done our studies in an environment that allowed us to get in touch with technology at early stage of our lives. I mean, so that why once more, it was just natural to go in this kind. I mean, we and we will go back to what we were talking about regarding the society, culture, family, and when you are in this environment, it's easy to make other understand you that you will go to the new technologies than to go to the traditional business as a restaurant or industry or so. Whatever. Probably I would have had some resistance from my close ones if I've than that traditional choice. I mean, what was exciting about it is to go to this IT, and I mean to bring the value through innovation, new way of doing things, and having not an experience in the market was not bad for us, because we were mainly learning by doing, and that's the way you learn really how things has to be done. And we are still learning. I mean, we continue on this process as of today.
Yeah, life is a long time. I mean, longer run learning. Let me ask. I mean, since you mentioned innovation, let me ask Kenza. You have a diploma in or a master's degree in innovation, and you had this to deal with the people or in an incubator that innovates. What can you tell us about the innovation environment in Morocco? Are we innovating? Do we have youth that innovates? Do we foster innovation in them? What can you tell us about that?
Okay, that's a pretty tricky question. But okay, let me maybe start with just a few facts and like objective facts about what's happening and what's been happening in the few couple of years in Morocco. So we're seeing more and more entrepreneurs that are talking about innovation. That's one, whether it is innovative or can be more innovative, that's questionable, but at least it is trending. People are talking about it. People are trying to come up with new things that are new to the market. I'm sorry if that is the noise. Is it
Yeah,
from
there is a noise.
my bed? All right. Yeah, so I'm saying the trend is there. People are more talking about it. More entrepreneurs are referring to themselves as startups, which I think does speak about the tendency that it is coming. The tendency of innovation is also more and more popular within corporate. So you'll hear more and more big companies talking, maybe having even a department for R&D and innovation, organizing events to work with startups. You have the whole trend of hackathons and boot camps that boomed around 2015, 2018, and it's still going on. So from both sides, from new entrepreneurs and old and big corporates, I think innovation is coming up. Now, do we have actual groundbreaking innovation? From my perspective, we still do not have that kind of, and it's at least not the main type of innovation we have, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So a lot of the startups we have now, when we speak about innovation in the startup world, we almost always find that it's tech entrepreneurship. We do not have much of the startups that innovate or invent something new in materials, in engineering, in machinery, for many reasons. And maybe one of them would be the lack of labs where people can actually test on actual machinery. So when we speak about innovation, we find that in Morocco, it's mostly coming up to tech. But again, as I mentioned, a lot of it is not completely new to the world. A lot of it is new to Morocco. It's services that exist elsewhere that we're trying to adapt to the Moroccan context. So that's the kind of innovation we have. It's more of an adaptive innovation rather than completely new. Maybe another thing as well is that just a note to mention that this is not necessarily a bad thing or that we're behind, because a lot of the new groundbreaking innovation doesn't have a market immediately. So even if a group of students or an entrepreneurs came up with this groundbreaking innovation that's completely new, the world never heard of it, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be successful enterprise or company in Morocco just because it's way ahead of what the market is ready for. So I think we're kind of finding this equilibrium between innovation and market feasibility. Maybe another fact in Morocco is that we're having more and more startup incubators within universities. A lot of the universities just the past year have been opening up incubators. We have funds launched by the government, by other associations and bodies that are helping entrepreneurs. I think Mehdi and Osama, maybe those funds were not available when you started. There was probably no option for getting money, neither from the government or from the banks. So the new initiative of Intelaqa is also a great push, where basically more and more entrepreneurs have access, more or less, to funds. We have the whole dynamic of business angels. If you've seen in TV the past year, there was more of those TV shows about entrepreneurship where you have business angels investing, like raising their hand. I give you 200,000, I give you 100,000. So no matter, like, we can go into the size and is it considerable enough or not, but at least the good sign is that it's there, and it is launching the dynamic, right? One maybe thing, if I might add, and again, this is only based on my personal opinion, one thing I would be worried about the trends of innovation in Morocco is to simplify it too much. It's to tell people that it's simple. If you're two students, if you're two fresh graduates, or if you're tired of being an employee, oh, you can easily open a website, you bring a freelance developer, you bring a freelance front-end designer, you put them in a room together, and you're going to create something. I'm really worried about that trend of simplifying entrepreneurship too much and telling people that anybody can do it, you can become the next Bill Gates, and it only takes a few developers that are not even part of the team. Like I see a lot of entrepreneurs starting with only freelancers, changing freelancers all the time, and thinking that their idea is so good that the tech behind doesn't really matter who develops it. But clearly, I think Usama and Mehdi, you know much better that it does matter. The tech, that the actual code behind it is really important. So that's my take on, and my personal opinion and perspective on innovation in Morocco today.
Well, yeah, what you said, Kenza, make a lot of sense. In fact, simplifying innovation and simplifying entrepreneurship, and particularly tech entrepreneurship, is very, very tricky and dangerous for young generation, especially. They think that just by creating, as you said, you can just earn a lot of money and be the future Bill Gates, while they forget about what kind of challenges they might face, how good they need to run or have a good team before starting a business. And let me ask Usama about the kind of challenges you found, and whether you had this idea also of recruiting freelancers, or I don't know, hiring from India, the developers from India or Pakistan, I don't know.
To be 100% transparent, I have hired an Indian team for development in the beginning of my career, because we had to work on a very starting or tipping point technology. We had the pharma industry that is getting into iPads, into technology on the mobile, etc. And then there were not enough companies or small companies. There was one company which is big, and it had a lot of it was very expensive to develop a mobile applications. So yes, I had to work with freelancers for some couple of bricks of the code which were not available here in Morocco, or which are either expensive or too much time it will be taken for the developers to do that. And also that was for only one client, and I had to move on to other services. And just for myself, it's kind of different, because I don't work into the development field. I am more into infrastructure. And that also, if in the development world you have freelancers, in the tech or in the infrastructure you have subcontractors. Because, for example, when I work with a company in which we will need to install Wi-Fi, install servers, switching, firewalling, security, etc., cameras, etc., we will need electricity behind, and we are not electrical engineers. So we have to go subcontracting for electrical engineers or electrical companies that are experts in the field, and we work together into this. But yes, when you need to have people to work with you, you will need to have as Kenza said, it's not just like bringing it, because you have a lot of effort to bring that client, and you bring freelancers, it doesn't give any added value for you. So maybe you can a sous-traité or an outsource other services that are not core business. For example, if you want to have a tech company or a selling website, your core business is the website, not the products. And for me, for example, my expertise is in the IT, is the network, is the security, is the network, for example. But behind, I can outsource my electrical engineering, my civil engineering, for example. If I want to dig a channel between two buildings, I will not have to hire a builder or someone, so I can do that job for that specific project. So there are a lot of interactions, and there are also a lot of interactions in concerning the procurements. You will buy from specific providers and not other providers, for example. Or you will need good procurement pricing. So myself, I can do the pricing, or I can have another commercial to do the pricing. So on joue de beaucoup de casquettes. You play a lot of hats in your head when you are an entrepreneur, and you have to. So you have to understand in finance. You have to understand marketing. You have to understand procurement, all that. You have to understand your own market as well. Your specific concurrent concurrence. Competitors, voilà, competitors. You have to understand your ecosystem, the banking, the environment, the legal, all that. So I am 100%. I agree 100% with Kinza, because for the young entrepreneurs now, or young graduates who want to jump into it's yes, for sure, it's very easy. It is easy. Now with the technology, with the platform, with the free platform, the open source, with the abundance in the technology, in the cloud, in the data, in the existence of space for data storage, etc. It's with the communication with the Indians, with the Chinese, to develop your code, the collaborative tools also, they facilitate, they extremely make your life very easy in terms of entrepreneurship. But later on, what do you have? You have who will consume your product, or who will use your product. That is your cash cow, or that is what will make you live longer. It's your clients, not what you have, the tools you have, people you have, everything you will have. Okay, it's easy. It's not that difficult. It's easy. You can get freelancers, you can get people working for you, but how you manage all that, and how you can pop up a product to put in the market, and it will be accepted in the market and sold or used, or a viable product that will give you cash flow, and it will increase. Because you have to know that when you launch your company, you need to have an increase in an exponential increase in your revenues, if you start good, and if you have your own market, and you did your homework well, to study your market. So yes, this is what is my opinion about this.
Yeah, you're right, Usama. In fact, you are right. Sometimes, as entrepreneurs, we fell in love with our ideas, and we forget that the clients will be using them, and we develop things for ourselves, not for our clients. And this is really tricky. And this is what young entrepreneurs need to be aware of: is considering clients' needs and what brings value to the clients, more than what they really like and what they believe it is valid for them. Mehdi, can you tell us about also the challenges that you faced when you started, and you are still facing now, especially that I think you are going to the African market, right?
We're trying to. Well, the challenges, I think that regardless of the industry, I mean, entrepreneurs have a few challenges that they have to face, mainly financial, technological, legal, growth, expansion and entering new markets and so on. So, and for the tech industry, I mean, the most, I mean, challenging aspect, especially at the beginning, is that an entrepreneur have to have the capability to put different hats at different moments of the day. Because probably beside having, I mean, having or willing to code intensively during the early stage of a tech company, the entrepreneur has to manage the finance of the company, secure the funds and the resources. And well, this is an endless fight, I mean, for young entrepreneurs. And in the landscape where access to funds is almost inexistent, I mean, a lot of initiatives are coming to the market, as Kenza pointed before, but it's still weak, I mean, regardless of the number of the size of the market. But we'll not talk that much about this point, otherwise we will be stuck here overnight. But an entrepreneur has also to be a leader. He has to have a clear vision and mission, and prepare presentations, demos, convince clients that he can bring added value for them, because by the end of the day, this is the most important things. I mean, how can you bring value to the others so that they work with you? And I will be back maybe to what Usama pointed also before, is the most important thing is the ability to build a team that share the same values and orientations as you. And for me, this is the key element for a long run success. And in today's market, you have to face a tough competition, I mean, either locally or from all around the world. And the ability to build that team that can bring value to the venture is fundamental. And that will show you and show to the market the difference by the end of the day. Well, this sometimes could sound easy to be done, but still it needs high level of confidence and concentration. And again, this is one of the biggest challenges. Add to it the challenge of innovation and appropriate platform to support it on the long run.
I mean, yeah, I mean, what about the ecosystem? And let me ask this time, Kenza, about what kind of strategies, decisions that our government, our decision makers need to put in place because I mean, small and medium enterprises are the engine of any economy, and if without them, I mean, the economy cannot run. What kind of strategy? I mean, it's a big question that we can spend. I mean, we can write books on it. But just
okay, you should prepare another alumni talk.
Just about these strategies. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, totally. That's a really very, very big question and very loaded. And so, yeah, I'll go maybe into just 2 points, and not into the recommendation part, but more of just a food for thought to think about how we can boost entrepreneurship. So there are many levels to take it, but I really want to go into the psychological part of and just the skill and the human part of it. So if we look at just a good example is the constant war of AUI during the graduation at Al-Akhawain, when you hear SBA and SSE, right? And so you have the two clans of the tech guys and the business guys. And I think that's a real, it is an actual sort of conflict or
segregation.
Yeah, it's in reality. See it, like we see it in reality. You have the brains that are and it's not really a fact biologically, but you have people who really think business wise and think money and think reality, and there is the engineers again who think, and I'm making it very stereotypical and they're not really correct, neither biologically or not correct at all. But my point is, I think one really good way to make sure that we have good entrepreneurs is to teach them to be both. Is we don't really want entrepreneurs who are pure tech guys and who just want to develop whatever they think is hard technically and they manage to make it, because you see how excited a developer would get when he can manage to develop something, to code something that's hard, and then they figure it out and they're excited about it, but you launch it in the market and nobody cares, right? And then you have the business mind who always thinks about money, marketing, advertising, and at the end, they're not able to produce anything at all. They can sell whatever you give them, but there is nothing behind, right? And again, I don't want this to be taken à la lettre, mais it's just to characterize the duality that I can see, and maybe to characterize the difference or the problem in education in universities is we're creating people who are unilateral, and that we might benefit from having programs, educational programs that help people see both sides and even more sides. There's probably a social side as well that we're missing here. That's not about money, not about the tech or the products, but it's more about the impact and the social impact. So I think that would really help us. And maybe the second point I wanted to share is about sort of looking at what other countries have done. So, and again, if you want to put big buckets, we'll see countries that have been supporting the startups and they're like putting in place everything they can to like babysit the startups. So they have incubators, they have funds, they give money, they have special types of contracts for employment to make it easier to hire, so that the entrepreneurs don't have to follow the same hiring procedures and sort of the hustles of breaking contracts and of seasonal jobs, part-time jobs. These are still, I think, issues that are not so simple in Morocco, where you have to hire someone either for a long-term contract or for short-term with very specific requirements. So there are countries that went that way and that are trying to help startups. They even created some sort of legal status of startups to differentiate them between the rest and to give them extra funds. But you have other countries that have done almost nothing in terms of government and big initiatives, like maybe the US. And that's where you have the most startups, because you just let people do what they do, right? It's the American dream hustle, and they don't have a status for startups, an official status. There is no specific help from the government whatsoever, not in terms of funding, not in terms of employment. And they just let people do their thing. And the more startups you have, the more people you have willing to risk it, the more successful stories you have, right? So I think there is no specific best way that has proven successful everywhere. I think we'll have to choose, and we have to consider the Moroccan context and see what would work. Do people need help, or do we want just the resilient, the more hardworking or the more lucky would survive? And those are the ones we're going to bank on, even if we have only 10 huge startups in Morocco that are really big. Better than having thousands that are very small, right? So I think it's a choice. There is nothing set as the best way to do it. And yeah, without going into the details of because as you said, Mehdi, this is like a sea to dive in.
Another webinar, another webinar. Yeah,
I will sum up if you allow me what Kenza said in 2 words. I mean, education, research and development, and get incentives from the government. This is the minimum, I mean, we need today for technology, I mean, or for startup technologies, I mean. And then we have to make a choice regarding innovation, I mean, to get back to the innovation points. I don't think that we are a country where we can, I mean, go through for research in what is fundamentals, because we don't have enough funds. We cannot take a risk to have something new, innovative, but cannot go to the markets for a reason or another. So if we can just innovate regarding the process and the existing things, and create new business models that are interesting for Morocco. I mean, and here really I'm talking Morocco and not behind the borders. It might be really interesting. And add to it for the tech is, how can we today convince young engineers to stay in Morocco? Because the flow of the brains today is, I mean, is putting at risk the whole industry. And I mean, it's really sad today to see that there is no hard initiative, I mean, to make people for jobs. I mean, I don't know, tax incentives, salaries, subsidies, I don't know. But I think last year, I mean, the Secretary of State, Mr. Firdaus, have worked on an initiative, and it came out with some interesting things. But we have to find out a way to put it on the ground.
I think there is work that was done. There is work to be done. And you mentioned it, R&D. I mean, I think the US experience is kind of something that we need to look at. maybe there are no aid from the government. However, they encourage research and development, that there is close partnership between the private, the big companies, and the universities. And this is something that is not, this is a culture that is not necessarily developed in many developing countries like Morocco. This is my own opinion. Again, I'm not an expert.
Right, Huda, but I mean, when it comes to the US, I mean, it's just an exception in the world. And when we talk about universities, private sector, and so on, but they have a strong private sector. They have companies, I mean, that finance technology in the universities because they know that they will have return on investment. In a country such as Morocco, we don't have the companies. We have them as a multinationals, and I don't think that will come to a country like Morocco and invest. They can do it, I mean, but it will not be enough. So if we want to compare, I mean, different countries, we will not just compare, I mean, the ideas, but the feasibility of ideas. This is the most important things. And for me, it's to take that we don't have to compare. I mean, whatever initiative that is calque or taken from them, we're not working in Morocco. I mean, the easiest way, I mean, as an entrepreneur today, when you start, you want to hire two guys, you go in a venture for a year or two, you finance from a loan, family loan, I mean, own saving, and then for a reason or another, it's a failure. It's really hard to close a company in Morocco. It costs money. Yes. It costs too much money, and then you end up in the curve. In the US, it's as simple as that. Guys, we're gonna stop today. You put yourself under Chapter 11, and it's done. So, still, I'll get back to the initiative of last year.
Go ahead.
A lot of good things can come out of it, and the ideas are here. Now we need to find the right strategy or tactic to do it, and to put it on the ground and make, because it's just unbelievable the number of good ideas and good guys that we have in the Moroccan. I mean, I've been meeting these young entrepreneurs or just students that are having ideas and willing to go to entrepreneurial, and they need just to be accompanied. And for sure, I mean, we're gonna take 100, 200, 300. I mean, few of them will bring something very nice and interesting to the market.
If I may add,
yes,
I get back to this same to the ecosystem, and as Kenza said, in the environment, because Mehdi talked about closing the company. I will talk about starting the company. When you start the company, why do I need to, example, why do I need to be enrolled in CNSS? Why a company needs to be enrolled in CNSS? Because later on, I need to pay the salaries, the people who will come, and they will come as salaried. Ils doivent être salariés, déclarés, etc. I'm not against declaration or anything, and I just find it very illogical to make me in a box as an entrepreneur, a box of salaried, because in the mindset of, because that's either banks, either governments, either public sector, everyone in your own in the whole environment, even if this talking about startups, about incubators, etc., those are very nice words, very marketing nice words. We have Maroc PME, they're like, yes, we have a startup MCI, etc. But the mindset in general, when we put that in place and we go into the motor and we go back in the ground, it's not the same. The banker will ask about your traite at the end of the month. It's a month. The CNSS, you have to pay it monthly. Les impôts, you have to pay them either monthly or trimestriel or annual. Because as an entrepreneur, you can work for a project for 2 years with 0 dirham, with nothing, or with minus, and then you will seek money during the 2 years. And why should I pay the CNSS every month and I have nothing? And when they tell them, I don't have money, my dear CNSS, they will say, well, we will go to court, we will ask for money. Why you don't have money? It's the whole mindset that should be changing, because this is a new mindset that is coming through. I don't like to compare US with Morocco, because as Mehdi said, it's an exception, and maybe Morocco will follow an exception to do its own thing, its own tagine, because yes, tagine is very delicious. We can find ingredients, nice ingredients, to make this nice dish and eat it. We have startuppers, we have ideas, we have young people, we have money. The country has money. We have people who have money, because when you go to, for example, let's say an example, you go to someone who is rich and you'll ask him to buy a villa, he will buy a villa because it's tangible, it's an asset. But you tell him, please put down 1 million dirham into a startup that will have a good that is a good idea and they just need money to start. He will say, okay, start, and then I'll let you under finance maybe in 1 year if it works. Okay, so it's the whole mindset, which is very difficult, and it will take some time to change.
I mean, it's a lot of, as you said, a lot of ingredient. There is a legal ingredient. There are
Yeah, and
social
also, and
aspect,
I don't want to be
education.
negative. I don't want to be negative, but also when you are in a client or in a customer, this is very dangerous, because when you are doing a service into a company, and then when you put down your bill, you are lately paid,
Ah,
because you did
yes,
done a service. I don't see it, I don't see the service. But the guy, he had a huge blockage in his IT, or in his information
server.
system, and he has a breach, security breach. He worked for it for 1 week, one week non-stop, and you solved his problem, and he's not blocked anymore. But he will not pay you, because it's a service, he didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very
That is
difficult to.
culture mindset, and then
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it's
Anyways, I would like to end on a positive note. And you said you don't want to be negative, and I would really
this is
want to
this is
end.
this is not negative, this is warnings. These are
Yeah,
things that
warnings.
that
Yeah,
people should, because what is the worst thing in entrepreneurship, because the name the word entrepreneur, c'est tu comprends quelque chose. When the worst thing is deception, when you're deceived, when you don't, you launch something, you start something, and you're like, oh, it's not what I thought, you know.
Maybe
yeah,
to
yeah,
make the
yeah.
same idea positive, if it's the problem of mindset, then it's a good sign, because we're not waiting for anyone behind the desk to decide. It's up to us collectively, and eventually it comes up with time. So maybe that's
Sure, of course, that's
yeah,
what I
yeah,
said.
right. Since we're not lacking minds, we're not lacking, as you said, money, we're not lacking any of the hard stuff to get. If it's only mindset, it's hard to change, definitely, but it's between our hands. It's our decision collectively.
Well, I mean, we are all almost, out of time, and I would like you, each one of you, just 1 minute to wrap up and give one advice to, people or students or young people that are listening to us or to you, a piece of advice, and on how to go forward. Kenza, since you were the last to.
All right, that's again the hardest question, and I'm starting with it. Maybe just a quick one is for people who are thinking, and I see a lot of confusion in general within graduates, fresh graduates, students, and also people who have been working for a few years. And I think this year has emphasized the confusion, and you hear a lot of people thinking or having that in mind. I've always wanted to be my own boss. I've always wanted to do that. I think one thing is to work on ourselves, on our mindset, regardless of the position we're in, because being an entrepreneur and being your own boss is not the solution of your confusion. It's not the solution of being in the mental space is not like rooted and is not in the right place. Being your own boss, quitting your job, or having a company will not fix it. Being an entrepreneur is harder mentally. and it's more demanding. So that's something that people have to really keep in mind, not to block the enthusiasm. I'm a really proponent of that, and I really encourage people to jump in. Just again, to jump in with the right mindset, and to jump in with a strong mindset where you don't believe that it's going to fix all of your problems to be your own boss. Being an entrepreneur doesn't mean waking up at 11 because you have a hard time waking up at 8. If you're becoming an entrepreneur, yes, you don't have to show up at 9 at the office, but probably you did not sleep at all, right? So I think, yeah, just don't take it lightly, but don't let that be stop you from starting, but the opposite. Let that push you to start, but to start strong and to take your time to start. So yeah, that's from my side.
Mehdi, I know that you have a meeting right now, so I will let you give your piece of advice to be able to leave.
Well, okay. Well, entrepreneurship should not be a default option for a career. I mean, this is my advice for everyone. I mean, this is something that has to be prepared, and I will just say a couple of words regarding our discussion before this live is go and look for mentors. I did not have a chance to have them in the early years of P3G because, I mean, once again, the landscape in Morocco did not offer that much. But this is something really interesting. And don't spend your time looking and analyzing the success story. Try to learn from the failure stories. It's really interesting. I mean, this is the best way to understand and to know things to avoid and to learn really from the experience of others. And my last word will be, I mean, your best ally is your hard work and the confidence you have on you. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mehdi. Usama, and by the way, there were some people that were asking, I cannot ask question in French. You can ask your question in French and on peut répondre en français. Vas-y, Usama.
Yes, if I will take 3 piece of advice to give to young entrepreneurs or people who will start, is that first of all, I'll rebound on the failure part. Failure to fail is not a shame. Is the normal process. Is a normal process. You need and you have to fail in your journey, because from your failure you will learn, and then you will move on and you will be stronger. Okay, don't wait for the cash to start something. You can generate the cash from nothing, from your own matière grise, your brain, what you learn, yourself. Even yourself can create value. Also, do not be I will not say it's ashamed, but do not be low confidence when you start up a new venture, because when you have to give confidence to people talking to you. Okay, even if you don't know, you say, I will learn about that and get back to you. Okay, it's very important to give the l'assurance, the insurance, to your clients, to your partners, to your providers. So it's the 5 forces, no, Porter's 5 forces. So providers, clients, etc., etc. So all the environment should have confidence in you. And then you to take any brand, you take whatever you want, it's you, because you're the company, the name, the brand, it's you. So those are the 3 points that I would advise. And every time I look very negative when I talk, but I am very positive, and I encourage people to be very, very positive about moving on. Don't stop at the first failure or the second. Don't just continue and have a lot of patience, which is very important. A lot of patience.
Of course, you need to have. You to be patient, hard work, but also, quelque chose that someone told me, like when I just started, and I did not believe in that. La bonne étoile, and there is something. La bonne étoile, c'est la chance aussi. Entrepreneurs need also to be lucky. Sometimes in some projects, you work hard, you do your best, and it does not work. And sometimes it just works out of the sudden. So la bonne étoile,
Exactly.
I believe in it as well.
Yes.
anyways, it was really very nice to meet with you all, to have you in this panel. I prepared a lot of questions that I have in front of me, but we don't have time to answer all of them. Maybe we need to do another round of this webinar. And I have here a lot of questions from some audience. Maybe we can answer some before closing this meeting. Let me just check. Well, you can just, if you have access to our YouTube channel, you can, yeah. Do you think, there is a question from Shihab, do you think that being an employee in the tech field would be enough to start up a tech company? Or a business entrepreneurship related certificate would be more helpful?
Yeah, it can be enough as no. I mean, the question is, it's all about the person. I mean, and the entrepreneur. Maybe if he feels likes the idea and he thinks that he can find a way to market it, yeah, it might be enough. So once again, I mean, to go back to what we were saying, the journey of an entrepreneur is unique. It's all about the idea, how we can bring this idea to the market. Is it going to bring value to the market? And these are the questions, I mean, the first question here to answer. And then, of course, things can happen.
Whatever the idea is, you need to check it and test it with your clients and see what kind of value it will bring to them. After that, the technology comes, everything comes after. I mean, the most important is what this idea brings to your clients, and if he is satisfied with it.
Or maybe in your journey and your experience during that employment, you find out that things are not done the way it should be done, and you saw an opportunity, and maybe that helped you to create your opportunity, your own company to address that opportunity or that problem. It's not a must, but it will help being an employee in a tech company. It's not a must. C'est pas un parcours obligé, mais et voilà.
Excellent. Okay, I think I will leave you, because I mean we are only I mean ahead of time. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you, Kinza, for coming with us. Thank you, Usama. Thank you, Mehdi.
Welcome.
And yeah, thank you very much for all your insights, the things, thoughts you shared with us, and see you in another Tech Talk next semester.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For organizing.
Eid Mubarak, by the way.
عيد مبارك وعشركم بروكة.
الله يبارك فيك. باي باي. تشاو.